Hey everybody, Vivian here with my first tutorial on the Sizzix blog as a designer on their team. I'm so excited to visit with you today. I have a card project and I've really been into mixed media and somewhat grungy projects as of late. So here I have an effect that was created using a household item that I've been using a lot of lately, bubble wrap. And I'm also incorporating as my primary embellishment this floral image that was die cut from a Sizzix Sizzlit's die. It's called Flower Daisy, and it's from the Scrappy Cat collection, and the code number is 658502. I'm titling this video Accentuating Edges because I just want to show you a few really easy techniques you can use to accentuate these beautiful variegated edges in your Sizzix die cuts. So let's get started with the tutorial. So just in case you're unfamiliar with the Sizzix Big Shot and die cutting, I just want to show you how I send my die templates through the machine. The Sizzix Big Shot comes with this platform as well as acrylic plates, and it shows you exactly which tab needs to be opened for the different types of dies that Sizzix offers. So this is the tab that needs to be open for the Sizzlits. So I'm going to lay one acrylic plate down and lay my die, lay my cardstock on top, and then lay the second plate on top, the second acrylic plate on top, and then send it through the machine. And people often call this a sandwich. This is the sandwich that you use for Sizzlits, Sizzix Sizzlits. And with some of the more intricate dies, and I would say this is a little bit more intricate, I will sometimes send it through the machine with 2 passes. And then you just pull those pieces out. This die comes with the flower as well as pieces for the center, but I think those circular rippled edges could be great for just abstract shapes in other projects that you're working on. And then you just poke out all the little pieces, and you have a beautiful flower, and you can create that over and over and over again. It's a really great investment. So here's a piece of bubble wrap. I've been using bubble wrap a lot lately, and I've been finding that this is the best way I like to use it. I'm using some SMOOCH Spritzes from Clearsnap to sort of paint on top with the wand. And I'm using one of their pink colors and one of their blue colors, and it's also misted with a nice dose of water as well. So I'm going to flip that over onto my heavy-duty cardstock and just smush it in there really well. And the beautiful accident that's going to happen that doesn't require you to anything except flip that thing over is that we're going to get some beautiful purples in there also, because the red is sort of going to mix with the blues that are making contact with the bubble wrap and the paper. So I like to set a heavy weight on there and let it dry overnight. If you want to set it in under a sunny window, also that'll help it dry faster also. So one really easy way you can accentuate edges and create a feeling of depth and distinguish the different die cut pieces in your project is with stamping. And this is a Hampton art stamp, woodblock stamp that I really love, and it's just got some text on it that's all about love. But you know, you could innovate with stamps that are not technically background stamps, but just ones that have really interesting textures to distinguish different die cut pieces on your projects. Another way you can accentuate different die cut elements in your projects is by altering the way the pieces absorb media. So for these fun little circular shapes, I'm just sort of randomly applying gesso to create a difference in the way the surface absorbs. So I'm going to set those pieces aside and see what's going on with our bubble wrap. So as you can see, some parts are dilute blue. So if you wanted it more dilute, you could mix your mists with more water. Some areas are very dilute pink, and I think those are very pretty. And you see sort of the wrinkles of the bubble wrap creating interesting abstract shapes and sort of a honeycomby pattern. There are some places that are still a little bit wet, so I set my heat tool on it to just finish drying it up. It's kind of fun when you do this kind of technique, because if you just set it aside and sleep on it, the next morning you pull it out and you pull off the bubble wrap and you have this fun, beautiful surprise, because you can't really control what's going to happen. So here's a little tip to flatten out your paper. If you just rub it between your palms and the edge of your work surface, it'll straighten it out pretty well. That's often a problem when we use a lot of different media. And later when we adhere it using snail, it'll flatten out even more. So here are those beautiful blossoms that I stamped. And I'm using some gelatos in some pretty pinks and purples. I have a darker pink along the central edge, and then a lighter pink. And I like to mist it with water. It makes it really, really easy to mix. So these are Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft gelatos. As you can see, they're translucent, and you can still see the black stamping that I did underneath. I did stamp with a solvent-based ink in black because I knew I was going to be adding a lot of media. Now, that surface is wet, so putting gelatos on top of a wet surface gives you a more intense hue. And I'm going to do the other flowers in a different combination of colors. I'll decide later which of these 3 blossoms I'm going to use on my card project. So now I'm going to take those circular pieces and I'm going to heat emboss them. So these have gesso on them, so they've got a little bit of texture on the surface already. So the gesso dried, and I've got another woodblock stamp that I love. It's a Hampton art woodblock stamp, and I actually like it just for the branches because I think they create some interesting texture on the project. And I'm just using an anti-static pillow. It's got like a little powder in it, so that I don't know if you guys have heat embossed before, but you'll see why that's important in just a second. So I'm going to use some watermark ink, which is a clear sticky ink, and I'm going to apply that onto the surface of my woodblock stamp and just stamp on top of these circular shapes. So it's very sticky. Next step, I'm going to pour some clear embossing powder on top of these pieces. And the embossing powder is going to stick to all the areas on these pieces that have the watermarking. Sometimes there's a little bit of random moisture on your paper surface, and you don't want the powder to stick to that. So that's why it becomes important to use some kind of anti-static device to make sure the only parts that get the powder are the parts that you want to heat emboss. So this is a diluted mixture of the mist that I used on my background. So it's going to coordinate, but it's going to be a little bit different, and it's going to pop a little bit because we've got the heat embossed texture on there. And this is another way to distinguish the pieces on your die cut shapes from one another. So I toned down my background piece a little bit with some Distress ink from Tim Holtz. I just blended that on top with a blending tool. And then I incorporated the use of 2 tools that were introduced to me by Stephanie Ackerman. That is Glue and Seal from Ranger, in conjunction with a Distress marker from Tim Holtz and Ranger as well. So that's another way to distinguish your edges, accentuate your edges. And another thing you can do is sanding. I love sanding. I just rubbed that sanding block on top, and it caught all the edges of the the raised surfaces on my flower. And it really helps it pop a lot and gives it that worn, old, grungy look. Another way you can accentuate edges is by distressing them, and a lot of us crafters do that. You can distress with gelatos. I'm using a black gelato here to distress the edges of my variegated circular piece that I die cut from my Sizzix Sizzlit that's featured today. And then I just pasted it back in place. I stamped with a clear stamp that's part of one of my favorite sets from Hampton Art. It says each day, and I think it's just such a wonderful sentiment. It's very meaningful to me, and I think it's great to have someone receive a card that says that, because it's a reminder to slow down and just take things one day at a time. I added some minimal embellishments, gems from me and my big ideas, a great metallic fiber from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and a few little staples from a Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher that I just recently picked up. Then I adhered the whole thing to a white card base that's 5.5 by 5.5 inches. I've been liking that format a lot lately. And I called it done. So I have a lot of techniques that I shared with you today. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. I've been treating my cards like mini canvases, so I've got a lot of different things that I did to the paper pieces. But I hope you come away with 1 or 2 techniques that you can incorporate into your next paper crafting project that will help distinguish the edges and shapes in your die cut pieces. Really love this Sizzix die. It's the Sizzix Sizzlits Flower Daisy, code 658502. So this is the full shot. Here's a little close-up of our beautiful variegated edges on our blooms, the heat embossing that we did and some of the gems that we added sparingly, and our great sentiment that I love dearly. And here it is in the sunshine. You can see the gems shining in the metallic fiber as well as the heat embossed surfaces glistening. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again really soon. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, it's Contadina K, and my blog is www.contadinak.com. Thanks. Bye.